Good
Cheers.
evening.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Good. Just took my ugly glasses off, although I kind of like them and I can see everything so much better.
They look good.
Yeah. Well, and they match my shirt. So, oh, God. So happy Thanksgiving. Happy post Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving recovery session.
Yes.
Whatever it takes to. Oh my God. Oh my God. We ate so much. It was so fabulous. Spent the whole day with friends and family and it was perfect. I hope yours was as well.
It was absolutely fantastic. Enjoyed every second of it.
Great. Great. I'm so glad. And I know we spoke to Bill just before the show and he had an excellent day too. I'm so happy about that, because I think, and I've always thought, that we should celebrate Thanksgiving every day.
I
That it
agree.
should just be a state of mind, a present in that headspace of gratitude.
I agree. Same thing when the Christmas holiday rolls around or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. There's just that sort of uplifted attitude within people, and if that could hold year round, the world might be a better place.
Yeah, no, I think it's a given that it would absolutely be a better place. Absolutely. This is always a strange week for me now. Probably because my sister April's name comes up a lot. Thanksgiving, being a celebration with family, and she would always, every year that I lived with my mother and my sister in Georgia, she would show up usually about 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock. She would wait till the Macy's parade was over, and then she would drive down and pick up where the dog show is, the National Dog Show.
Right.
And then they repeat, the dog show, and they repeat the parade as well, usually. And she would just sit there and take up space on the sofa and just absorb all of it into her soul. Meanwhile, I'm in the kitchen slaving away, making massive quantities of food. And whenever there was a commercial break, she would come in and start picking at food that her fingers had no business being on. And once the turkey came out of the oven, she would have to come and check it and make sure that it was perfect and, rip a piece of it off. And I'm like, it was perfect until you ripped a piece of it off. I don't know how many times I slapped her hand, how many times, I barked at her to get the hell out of the kitchen and go watch your dog show. And I would give anything now to have her back to aggravate me while I was working, not pitching in, not saying, can I mash the potatoes? Can I, what can I do to help? No, there was never any of that, because God forbid she should have been an intrusion in the kitchen space, And we miss her a lot at Thanksgiving. It's that special time of year, and coming into the holidays it's different now. It's different. It's nothing in life is ever the same. I mean, literally day to day, nothing in life is ever the same. But when there's an empty seat at the table that will never be filled again, it changes things, including perspectives.
Right. So, changes everything. Changes it absolutely
does.
Everything.
Yeah, it does. So it's always the holiday, no matter how festive, is bittersweet for me because of that.
I'm sure of.
Yeah. So is our girl in with us yet? Do we have her?
She is here.
That's excellent. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Elsa, and I'm going to apologize to her in advance because I'm probably going to mispronounce her last name. I've never seen a last name like that. And so I don't know if it's Anigroeg or if it's, I think it's Anigroeg.
I think you're right. I can see her nodding.
Nodding.
So I think you said that correctly.
Yes. I mean, I only heard it once. I saw it on the door of her business, her beautiful, beautiful business. And, but she was just Elsa to me from the moment we met. We connected in a very profound way. So I just want to bring her on and feed her to everyone as sustenance for the soul, a cornucopia of delights, awesome. Who has wandered into my circle, my realm, my tribe, my world, my universe at exactly the right time, and share her with all of you because you will be as charmed as I was. So without further ado, let's bring Elsa on board.
Here she comes.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Great, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Can everyone hear and see me okay?
You need to tip your camera up a little because you're cutting the top of your head off.
I can't let you see my precious crown of hair here.
That's perfect.
So, how is it going for you this evening? Tell me.
It's I'm still recovering from Thanksgiving. It's always an ordeal in terms of too much, opulence and too much indulgence and too much. And Peanut is still in recovery mode too because there was Italian wedding soup. This was an Italian 7-course meal feast. And, the wedding soup comes after the antipasto. And there was nothing in that she could have because dogs are not supposed to eat that kind of meat. And so she just sat at my side and waited until I went and got the soup. And, of course, she could have the chicken. She could have the little meatballs, the little tiny meatballs.
Yes.
She could have that. And she could have some of the orzo.
Oh.
And so she overindulged yesterday. And as did we all. As did we all in a celebration of plenty. And it was wonderful. Plenty of love, plenty of light, plenty of food, plenty of singing, plenty of dancing, plenty of football, plenty. It was great.
Wow. That sounds incredibly abundant and absolutely wonderful. And that's amazing to hear. I'm so happy, especially about Buttercup's indulgence and all the stuff that she can have on such a feastful occasion.
Yeah. She's a very special little dog, and I take her with me everywhere that I possibly can, wherever she's allowed in. And so I can't help it. I just want to include her in every aspect of my life. It's so important to me she's like my kid. I'm not leaving the kid home alone. Okay. She's getting in the car and she's coming. Yeah.
That's how that goes.
And she also had her very good friend, my friend Josie, who hosted this event yesterday. She has a little dog named Momo, who I sometimes keep if she has to go away on traveling. Momo will come stay here. So he and Peanut are very well acquainted and they get along great. And she has either hardwood or tile floors all throughout her enormous house. And all we had to do was listen to what room the pitter patter of little feet were coming from to be able to locate them in the house, to know what they were up to, what they were doing. One of the two of them broke one of the Christmas balls on the tree. I feel certain that it wasn't Peanut, because she's very careful about things and she never breaks anything. I really do think, though, that there was some racing around the Christmas tree involved, and Momo is probably the culprit. I can't say for sure, but I'm sticking with that story.
I like that one. Yeah. I'm getting the sense that Buttercup had no part in the breakage of the Christmas ornament.
Yeah, see? Okay, there it is. You have validated my own feelings about this. Thank you.
I love when that happens.
We didn't even have to cast runes to figure that one out. No. So tell my people, my beautiful, wonderful people out there, who you are, what you do, why you do it, which I know the answers to all of these things, but I want you to introduce yourself to those who are watching that don't know you or anything about you.
Right. Well, of course, as we're all one consciousness, you just don't know me yet, or this part of yourself yet. But Hi, everyone. My name is Elsa. My last name is a little hard to pronounce. Sometimes it's Anigroeg, sometimes it's Anigroeg. That's of the least importance, as what I do is incredibly important for all of us. It's a way of casting runes and reading tarot, but of course, having a result in clear consciousness, having a seat alongside all the different versions of ourselves and using the things like cards and runes to tell that story and make it more translatable. So I'm like a translator of sorts. Reading the runes is actually really wonderful. That goes into Norse mythology. I read Elder Futhark runes, which translate to our alphabet as well. It's got 24 different characters in there. It is incredibly cool. The tarot is a tool that's been used for centuries and decades, and all kinds of big words I can't think about referring to the history beyond what we're creating right now. You know how that goes. Past, present, future, all the same. Right. Well, the tarot is a great, great tool that allows me to translate messages, both from the divine and from your higher self. So I think it's really, really neat to work with keepers of light, different terrestrial beings, different vibrations, and of course, recognizing all of those things, even in myself and in you. So it's quite the occupation that I have. I would call myself a diviner or a translator. And it's probably one of the more fun things that I do. I exist to be a translator of the divine. And those methods are pretty much my favorite. How about you? Do you have a favorite? Like Oracle, runes, tarot? I feel like I overloaded you with all kinds of cool magic when I saw you last.
Yeah. I had never had anything like that done ever, and I've always been one of these people that has like, nah, I don't really want to, because I don't really want to know anything. I just want to live into the moment, in each moment, and feel what unfolds. I've never felt a need to know, which is odd, I suppose, because so many people do. But when you cast the runes for me, I picked up a strange, remember how I touched them first? You had me touch them first.
Yes.
And kind of share my energy with them, take their energy from me. It's almost like stones are alive in a way that it's difficult. I mean, I have stones all over my house from every place that I've ever been on earth. You know, no matter where I go, I lean over, I pick up a stone, I take it home with me. At least one. I came back from Scotland with about 25 pounds of stones. I did. I didn't think they were going to let me through damn security. Like, you're taking all our rocks, lady.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed you got through. I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
I did. I got through. And well, because I broke them up into different,
The
some
sections
can
of your
go in
luggage.
this bag and some can get packed. And, yep, right, that.
Noted.
Yeah. But when I touched them before you scattered them on the table between us, I felt an odd vibration that was different than I have ever felt from any stone other than the one that my friend Serena got for me inside of a crop circle.
Yes.
It's right here, and it has its own.
Oh my gosh, I get to see the stone.
This stone that looks like a pyramid. It looks like a pyramid. I mean, it's just, I can't even show it to you, but when you hold it for like maybe 15 to 30 seconds, it changes color and you can almost see a stone inside it, like a stone inside a stone. It's just the most extraordinary. I think of it as my healing stone.
Yes.
And it's not indigenous to England. It's not, this isn't a normal stone. And it was found inside the middle of a crop circle, and she gave it to me. It's one of my most prized possessions, truly. But when I touched the runes, I had that same kind of vibrational sensation going on. And then we cast them, and within a matter of 5 to 10 minutes, you read them, not just which ones I chose, which ones got cast, but you went to areas of issues in my life personally that, number one, you couldn't have known anything about because I didn't tell you, and we had just met that weekend. Number two, you answered a couple of questions that I've never asked out loud of anyone at any time, including myself. And the other thing that happened was that I felt for a few moments like I was a little floaty, like not completely attached to the earth, that I was floating a little bit. And so I found all of that to be very interesting. And of course, being the pragmatic person I am, I first said, well, are you doing this to yourself? Is this, is this something that, is this just a reaction to doing something new and fascinating and that you're curious about? Is this like some kind of strange physiological reaction to touching the stones or what? So, and I don't know the answers to any of those things, but I do know that what you did gave me clarity in a way that I've not had before, including deciding not to, once my travel schedule was done for the year, saying I'm done. I'm taking months off now, months off. Not a few weeks, months off. Not from my show, of course. I'll do my show
right
on Friday nights and on Monday night Soul School. But yeah, I'm just on hiatus. And part of that decision came very spontaneously from that reading. Like, that's enough now. Enough.
Wow. That is incredibly moving. Thank you for describing that to me in that way. It hit and resonated in so many different parts of my soul, hearing that feedback from you and how some time has passed and how you're seeing how those things resonated so immediately. And of course, through the magical and mystical way of crystals and crystal healing. That is just amazing. Thank you for such high regard and compliments on something that, of course, I think not a lot of people do, but that I highly recommend that they do. A rune reading is just something really, really cool. But the difference in the reading that I gave you is that it involved crystals. Crystals
Yes.
are so amazing. And down to the crystal that you have on your end, I'm totally trying to conjure the vibes that you have from that crystal right through the screen into this crystal, a clear quartz crystal that we call a master healer, one that's got, my heart etched into its shape so that it translates information properly and, of course, harnesses it right to me. So, in that regard, when we gave you your reading, you were holding moonstones. You were holding a stone that deeply resonated not only with you, but the environment, your everything about the snapshot of where you were in that point in time, whether it's space time, your perceived time, or time together. It was one in which crystals were actually part of the vehicle in which your messages were received. I did very little translating as far as how your soul understood that information. And I'd like to say for sure, a lot of that is attributed not only to myself, and of course, an amazing connection that we immediately shared, but of course to crystals. Crystals have a huge, huge place on this planet. They also have a place on any other planet or place that you can think of because of their resonance, their energy, their vibration. And through words, through experiences, they can speak. And I think that's a lot of what happened. And that's what you see with that stone there. I can't figure it out. It changes colors. It's thermal. It's all of these things.
I know. It's amazing. It's an amazing stone. And, I used to take it with me everywhere. And then I was just so afraid that I can't lose this. I can't have this not, travel well with me and get left somewhere. I left it with my mother for a couple of months when she was in need. And I said, just sleep with this. I put it in a very pretty little mesh pouch so that its energy could escape, not in a velvet pouch, but in mesh where its energy could escape. And I said, honey, just put this under your pillow. See, already I'm holding it for just this short amount of time and it's getting hot. It's like picking up this amazing, it's just getting hot as I touch it. And the longer I hold it, the more it changes. Crystals, I learned many years ago, actually grow. Erin's crystal healing is my jam. Yes, it is. In fact, I have a whole table in my kitchen that is set with owls and stones from all over the world, all my Scotland stones and the sea glass that washed up on the shore is there, and all my spooky stuff, all my awesome, cool Halloween things that I've gathered over the years. And she walked in my house the other day. She came down to help me ship books and at the beginning of the week. And when she walked by the table, it almost knocked her over. She was like, whoa, what is this? And I had gotten something out while I was at Star Works Symposium a week or so ago. I got a special amethyst for her, and she was just blown away by the energy in this thing. And it was carved. It's beautiful. And I just handed it to her, and she's like, oh my God. And she just held it and felt it and loved it. And I don't know what it is, but if you want to know who your tribe is, who your people are, your family, seek out the stone gatherers, seek out the crystal gatherers, seek out rose quartz is one of my very favorite. I have it everywhere around me all the time. And it has a very calming vibration for me. Even though it's a high vibration stone crystal, for me, it's very calming. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not just the color, it's the energy, right? Right? It's the
Absolutely.
energy.
We got
Yep.
amethyst, rose quartz, and clear quartz on this mala here because all three are incredibly important to healing as well as remembering who we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. And so
Yeah.
when it comes to self-love and being heart-centered beings, the rose quartz is the secondary color that the heart resonates to besides green. So
Yeah.
when you're thinking as a heart-centered and a lot of the times an empathic person, you're channeling colors. You're gravitating towards colors. And when you're gravitating towards a rose quartz, not only are you gravitating towards self-love, but you're gravitating towards one of the power crystals, just like you said. It's got a lot of healing to it. And of course, its color resonates with one of the most powerful energy points and centers that you have, your heart.
Yeah.
And so I highly recommend it. I condone it. I like it. I'll allow it.
You condone it. That's
Everywhere.
excellent. I'm
Everywhere.
so glad to know that. I have a rose quartz angel up here on my desk. Yeah, she almost passes out. She can't even walk into the man cave. And not just because it's just one of these days she's going to come down here and help me organize this. You can't see, but if you could, you would understand that I am in organization crisis right now, which I'm fine with. I don't care. I mean, we all have to have a crisis about something. I choose for my man cave to be a little messy.
I call that a chaos level. I call that a chaos level. So I'm like, okay, where's the chaos level today? It has to be at a certain meter, a certain level.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Man cave.
And then it gives me that opportunity once I start to get it under control to feel like I've actually accomplished something. But there's another part of my brain that knows it'll be just as bad or worse a month later. Because stuff goes here, stuff goes there. I'll deal with this later. I'll deal with that. Oh, thanks for the printout, Dad. Boom, down it goes. And before you know, that happens enough, and you're right back where you started. So to me, it seems like a Sisyphean task. Roll the stone, staying with the theme. Roll the stone up the mountain, watch it go down the other side. Go down the mountain, roll it back up the other side, and down it goes. And, I've, in the same vein, I've always wished that the following statement were actually true, which is, given the opportunity, a house will keep itself. That's not true.
That sounds like
it were. If only it were, right? How much more time would we have?
Oh, Lord. Well, considering the chaotic level that I'm at, I mean, I have the same amount of time as that I'm not going to address it right now. So I'm still on the same amount of time.
Oh, I see.
See. But we would save at least a couple hours a week on all that pesky cleaning and upkeep in the house, huh?
I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
These crystals would just kick in and do some of the house healing.
I know. It's so mundane and plebeian and kind of, yeah. But, on the other end of that, sometimes I have my best ideas and my greatest thoughts while I'm washing dishes.
Ooh.
I have a dishwasher, but we don't use enough dishes to warrant using the dishwasher.
Oh.
So it's, it's loud and it's not terribly loud, but it's just kind of obnoxious. I just don't like it. I don't like the sound of it. And so I just do the dishes by hand. And when I do, my mind is free to wander because I don't have to think about what I'm doing. And so my mind is freed by ironing or washing dishes or even running the vacuum cleaner. I don't have to think about anything at all. And therefore, all of that just gets opened up. And there have been many times that I've just turned off the dishwasher or turned off the vacuum cleaner and went and wrote something down that just came to me spontaneously while I was just doing the Sisyphean task.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you brought up when you're doing dishes that sometimes it's one of those things that kind of just calms you. And it's one of those almost mindless tasks that we accomplish, and we see it as the mundane. But the water is incredibly powerful, and we, as sentient, emotional, magical, mystical beings, have a very special connection with water and crystals. So, Lord forbid, there's any crystals just hanging around your sink washing area, and then you're touching the water and being as amazing as you are. Imagine the magic that happens. And that's exactly it. Keep a notepad by, because that's definitely opening yourself up to what can be produced out of chaos today.
Yes. What can be produced out of chaos today? It is a question all of us should ask each and every one of ourselves every morning. What can be produced from chaos today? Yeah. There is no real order. I have one crystal that I want to show you that comes from my mother. It's extraordinary. Can you see?
I can totally see it.
I struggle with the everything's backwards on the screen, so it's funny looking. But isn't that absolutely beautiful? It's just so multi-dimensional. It's
a wonderful word. Yes.
Spikes going off in every conceivable direction, and it's one of my many cluster. It's part of my cluster on top of my roll top desk that has not a square inch of room left to receive anything new in. I'll have to deal with that next year.
I know. My mind started thinking, ooh, that chaos level can actually be tended to, adjusted. Added to, subtracted to the possibilities,
Well, one of the things that I have up here that is particularly beautiful is an hourglass. And there's something about watching the sand filter through the hourglass, flipping it and letting the sand flip through, that I also find it's kind of a form of passive energy. I mean, it's literally it's like watching the tide. You turned your audio off.
Oh, that would have been terrible. That was permanent. Oh, we thought.
That would suck. Yeah.
No, loud and clear.
Kind of defeats the purpose of doing this, but yeah, that's okay. I don't know how to use my own computer. That I even do this every week is proof of the existence of God and miracles. So anyway, no, really, it is. There's something about gravity, watching gravity work that is pretty amazing stuff. And I think sometimes when we let ourselves get into the minutia of the moment and just watch the tide come and go, or watch sand filter through an hourglass, or just observe the universe that we know, the space that we're familiar with, sometimes it can spark notions of being part of something much, much larger. Because when you look at, the whole notion of our planet being like a single speck of sand on a shoreline that is covered with countless trillions of specks of sand, all functioning together in and out with the cleansing tide, with the sometimes tumultuous tide, having just gone through two hurricanes in Florida this summer.
No.
Watching nature just exist is enlightening in the extreme, I think.
it's one of those things that we have very little control over. So to marvel at its seasonal effects, at its causalities, at all of its might is something that is, you're right, very something to observe, but also I find very profound. It's the weather and the way it affects us, including, you talked about tides and sand and all those things. All those elements are incredibly important to notice, but realize how they affect you too. Because we talk about vibrations, we talk about sentience, frequency, emotional intelligence on the daily, but we don't realize that the most natural, beautiful things around us all include those things. We're so exclusive of, oh no, that's just the type, that's just this and that. But when we really sit and take time to think and look at what's around us, I think we can only be surprised to feel things, see things, experience things beyond just living. And that's just really, really, really cool, because as we go along here, we're seeing a huge spike in people noticing the lunar cycle and noticing how it affects the tides and how it affects the way the sand comes onto the beaches and how we fit into that whole equation, if you will. How we are like a speck of sand as a planet, but then we exist as a speck of like sand or grain on that planet. Talk about some major mathematical equations popping up there. I always think of the universe in terms of like numbers, vibrations, colors. And I feel like that's something that wasn't always there for me, but it took those times where, let's say something catastrophic happened and, you know, you're grateful to be sitting from an observatory point looking at what has been made out of chaos. And you're sitting there finding not only the silver lining, but different vibrations, different thoughts, different feelings, and thus sometimes a different reality. And I think that's so important for us to say, because we as an emotional intelligent species, us humans, we have a way to put two and two together to get the math, to get the, oh, this and this. But I feel like crystals don't get their, you know, fair share of, hey, they are vibrational and they sometimes are referred to as sentient. The same with animals. We talked about Buttercup and we talked about how she overindulged and all this. How would we discern that without realizing that she too has a soul, is sentient, has vibration, as well as frequency? So when she is out by the beach, counting the grains of sand and taking in her puppy breath of all the view that she has, she too is experiencing something. And I think that is just so beautiful. Again, talking about the things that, you know, result from chaos, life can be chaos. And sometimes it just has to do with gravity, right? And the gravity of even information, like the stuff that we're talking about this evening is quite impactful. So I'm glad you made that statement and that visual picture for me to kind of like relate to, because something about the beach and the water and our relation to each other, as well as how vast the world and the universe is in relation to, let's say, a grain of sand, is amazing. I love that.
It can be the thing about water, and I think as we're coming into, I mean, we're really at the opening, like beyond the preface and just opening the first chapter of the Age of Aquarius. I mean,
Yeah.
all of this has just happened and is in process over the last 12 years or so. So it is, this new age is in its infancy, quite literally, and needs to be nurtured. For instance, we are, as a race, as a world race, starting to really acknowledge the fact that we cannot just simply live on this planet and consume to our heart's content, and in the process destroy it. Or if we don't understand that we are part of its life force and live in concert with it, if we fail to make that leap in consciousness and just use up its resources, and this is our mother. Part of the opening of A World Awakening is a photograph of the earth with the words "Honor thy mother" across it. I did that on purpose. I meant that. If we don't understand that we are part of her and nurture her and treat her as divine and show her respect and find a way to live in a simpatico relationship where we do no harm, but only bring good to her, and plant our trees and groom our gardens and make beauty everywhere that we can create it. If we don't do that, if we fail, we're going to get kicked to the curb. It's just a matter of time before something will occur where Earth has had her fill of us and will say no more. She will survive. We might not. So once we're gone, she would have the opportunity to heal, of course. So
Right.
doesn't that seem like the most logical thing for Earth to do is to kill off what she perceives to be pestilence on the planet, what I certainly perceive to be pestilence on the planet, and the way that she is abused and mistreated, and she's fighting back. She's fighting back with fire. She's fighting back with flooding. It's not that fires and flooding and droughts haven't always existed for time immemorial. It would be ludicrous to claim otherwise. But the
Right.
frequency, the extremes that are being measured technologically, scientifically now, and looking back over just the last 150 years or so, when records were first being kept on a planet that's millions of years old. Yes, natural changes have happened. We all know there have been prior ice ages. We all know there have been prior melt-offs. We know all of that, but we're exacerbating a process just by simply being here in an irresponsible way that is hastening the demise of our own species and that of many others. And if we don't really seriously look at that, do you know what good it does me to be walking along a dirt road and to see a piece of crystal protruding up out of the sand and the dirt of a road that has been walked over millions of times, or a piece of land before the road existed that had been walked over millions of times in the course of human history? And I'm the one that found the piece of quartz that had worked its way to the surface, almost as though it was deliberately a gift placed in my path. That, to me, is powerful.
Absolutely. Crystals have a way of not only vibrating, but having a frequency that matches. And I'm going to get a little technical with you here. We look at Newton's law of gravity. We look at the law of attraction. We look at the law of observation. We look at all those things that are tangible within science that explain why, things attract, or, why those vibrations are important. But the biggest part is that we attract things that are close to our vibration. So many people have passed before you. None of them have a frequency quite like you. And whether it was that you had different stones in your pocket that day, or there was an absence of stones with you, timing, space-time, all those things come into conjunction so that you can have profound experiences here on this life that resonate much longer than even the time we're experiencing now. And so that crystal in your hand was something that's kind of recorded in history as far as the rock's vibration and its frequency, and that ripples through time itself. So if we are these magical beings and the stuff around us originates from the earth kind of like we do, there's a magic that's sometimes not recognized, and that's that we draw things to ourselves that are of like frequency, and sometimes it's baffling to know that thing unearthed itself all the way to you. But I'm not even surprised if it were anything like a crystal quartz or something like this, because we call that a master healer. Throughout hundreds of years, something was known about the vibration of this crystal, its vibrating and ripple effect around certain people, certain structures, and when it's certain shapes, including geometric ones and ones that can be translated in math, science, and colors, it really did cool things. It really started, I guess, pushing our history along. And so I think thinking about the different frequencies and colors of the earth, I wanted to show you what Gaia frequency looks like. Gaia frequency is one that looks kind of like a flower. Yeah. That's our Mother Earth and its frequency. So if the earth was at the center, we'd be looking at something kind of like a sphere. And is
that my sphere that stayed with me one night? The weekend is that my same sphere?
No, this is a different one. Okay. There are plenty, but the one that stayed with you was a fire quartz. And fire quartz, of course, is absolutely wonderful. Yes. Definitely off the quartz family. But the sphere has a center to it that allows energy to culminate on both sides of it and kind of make like a vortex, if you will. And so this energy can be picked up by just picking up a stone and resonating with it, whether you know anything about it, whether it's on the walk down the street and you find something. A lot of the times it seems like an accident, but I'd like to say it's not.
I don't really believe in accidents or coincidence, a nice word we made up to explain away the otherwise inexplicable events of life.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the thing about the word coincidence is the word coincide. Things coincide together. Yeah. And so a coincidence and things coinciding together is actually quite exciting in this day and age, especially because crystal healing and crystals and, of course, different vibrations and frequencies are all at the tip of our tongues and topic. And, of course, we are looking at a world awakening. We are looking at a bunch of people like you've said in several different ways, waking up like from the womb into this like, whoa, what a whole new world. What a time to be alive, where magic exists, where crystals actually vibrate. And they just not only do that, they look pretty. Well, the biggest thing that I think people talk about now are the chakras. The chakras and the way they resonate with your energy centers, which, of course, resonate with crystals. That combination of resonance, crystals, and healing is absolutely wonderful because it involves colors and it shows a vibrational frequency that can radiate even off of you because you're a part of Earth. Earth vibrates like you do. It creates a cosmic flower. It creates a vibration of what we call universal love. Universal love is what the stones, I think at their base level, really, really capture. And that universal love frequency is one that allows plenty of magic to happen. But it's what activates the connection that we feel to each other, one source, and to our planet, all of existence itself. So when we talk about Gaia, we also talk about Earth. It's very, very similar. But when we add the spiritual aspect of what Mother Gaia looks like, and we add water and color and rainbows, it's very similar. And it all looks like a geometric pattern. And my favorite, like a flower.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, in my my trilogy of books, a lot of volume 3 is dedicated to nature and what we have to learn from nature. And there's a chapter, I think it's in volume 3, I'm not positive, but there's a chapter in one of the books for sure entitled If These Rocks Could Talk. And it was about the stone walls that are built all around that encase the farm where I grew up. And the whole point of writing that chapter was to talk about there's a massive underground river that runs below the farm, and you can literally feel the vibration of the running water in the stones. So when you lay on them or you touch them, you know, these walls actually tremble. And you have to spend the time to go out and lay on one of them or drape yourself over them or just touch them and feel it and allow yourself to feel it. And the whole point of including it was a greater idea, which is simply, you know, if these stones could talk, but they do. But
right.
they do. And what
In
we have
actuality,
to learn is to listen and feel that vibration. And we need to, you know, I speak frequently about the notion that our old reality has not changed. Reality has not changed. We are beginning to look at it with new eyes.
Yes.
And a third eye open that, you know, heretofore most people kept closed. Because why? It's easier. It's just easier to go through this life with, you know, your whole experience of it relegated to 5 senses.
Right.
And never tap into your intuitive self, never tap into third eye wide, never tap into a higher knowing or curiosity, a fascination, you know, a love of the mystical and the magical, all of which, being science, we don't yet understand. But going there, because in a lot of ways, I think it's just mind-boggling for a lot of people. They're really busy concentrating on how they're going to get to work, how long they have to be there, how much they have to earn to put food on the table that night, who's, you know, paying the mortgage this month. You know, I mean, it's the trials and tribulations of this thing called life can easily distract us from going deeper. And yet it is in the process of going deeper, of looking into our ethereal realm, that will actually ease the burdens that come with life, and give you a different, is that beautiful, give you a different route to take.
This is called integration. And so we integrate our spiritual self into our reality so that we can have different realizations in our life. That, of course, we're going back to a circle, one that has us in the middle, that kind of looks like an emanating pattern, like a sphere, like our world.
Well, think of
you know,
the pond Okay, think of a pond, and we want to make a difference in the world. We can take the tiniest little pebble and throw it in the middle of that pond. And another one of the images that opens this show, and the vibration that it creates as it breaks the surface of the water spans and spreads equidistantly from the point of contact, and it alters the entire pond. There's not one part of the pond that is untouched by the pebble we threw in the center of the pond. That itself, we should spend a few minutes a day meditating on that, on the difference that each and every one of us can make in this world with the slightest effort and the smallest piece of matter that we conspire with to change the world.
I think that really easily goes back to Newton's law of universal gravity that says every particle has basically equidistant matching particles that attract themselves to each other.
Yes.
And it's one of the first great unifications that we ever saw, the idea that we could attract positive things to ourselves, that even the smallest changes could cause ripples in our time space that allow for more things to be created from that center and thus bring us together, in which gravity is definitely playing a part. We talk about planets and the moon and all those things. Gravity is huge, not just the gravity of information, but the gravity of the things, the nature that's around us, the stuff that happens as a result of you even stepping in to a square footage within the nature that Gaia allows us to exist in. And I think when we talk about even the smallest things, I think that really brings me back around to gratitude and that vibrational frequency and what that must look like, because I really feel like it's a culmination of things all buzzing and vibrating at once. Because not only are you looking at universal love and vibrating that around to everyone and everything that exists to you, being thankful is one that includes integration, realization, spirituality, prosperity, the word journey, all of those things, they come together as pure energy. We, as human beings, are pure energy, and everything around us is energy. Therefore, we are all at a vibrational level. And as the world awakens, those vibrations, just like music, they start to resonate with each other and vibrate together to make a beautiful song. And that song, going back to your experiences, rippling long after we're gone, I think what's lost in time is the human song. And the human song is that of, like you said, just getting through everyday life and what that is. But as the world awakens now in 2022, our life has continued to change through the different decades and what that entails and what it entails now. So I do believe there is a spiritual aspect, like what you were talking about, that's incredibly important in this climate to intentionally integrate into your reality so that you can begin to open yourself up to all the things that have been there this whole time. But do it without any kind of connotation that perhaps it would be taking you one direction or boxing you in on this direction. Everyone on this planet resonates with such a beautiful frequency like we see on the earth, and that makes us God-like. We are all connected to what we call a source. Sometimes it can be, put into our chakra alignment for us to understand. Outside of those realms, as far as an awakening, we all have the ability to speak the language that we weren't taught to, per se. And that language is something that spirituality allows you to open up without having to commit to anything at all, as part of the magic of you just existing today is your privilege to the information even the leaves in the trees are trying to give to you. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. So it's hard not to look around some days and just take a deep breath and be like, wow, how vast is this place? How vast was time and space to get us to this point in time, to where we perceive living life, not just in a day-to-day hustle and bustle, but something to sit, stop, and smell the flowers, right?
Yeah.
We talk about the pattern of life, the flower of life, it looking like flowers. Why not stop and smell the flowers, both in nature, but in everything that you do, so that those pauses are like seeing that stone ripple through bodies of water for things and people you couldn't even imagine. That's the best way to be, because just you vibrating at a gratitude level, or one that is in awe of the things around you, all other things are affected by it, and indiscriminately so. That's what vibrations are so amazing at doing, taking away any divisive principles that drive us apart as a species and bring us back together in oneness. Kind of like in a source, or kind of like, I guess, back into a group of sentient, emotional beings that get to exist right now. It brings us all together. So whether you're a rune and card reader, or whether you're someone who's had a sort of experiences throughout your life and you're not at an understanding level, I think the vibrational value of universal love and the language that this beautiful space that we all have our feet planted on, hopefully right now, is an amazing place to exist. And like I said, without being any more than grateful, you're allowing people and things around you to get your energy signature on it and carry your song throughout time. And I love that it's indiscriminate in nature, because science is great. It doesn't care about whether you feel this way or that way today. It cares the output of vibration and thus numbers. So I'll be happy to tell you, I've been kind of researching a fairly new subject called biogeometry. Biogeometry is like a measure of those things, measuring light, sounds, colors, frequencies, all of that, and putting them into like tangible designs. And it's wonderful. And I think it's a way of opening up this worldwide awakening into something that's based in fact, but that still has a sense of mysticism, beauty, and of course, awe to it.
Yes.
And I'm excited. I'm excited because biogeometry, I think, had started being studied in the last 50 years. So that's fairly recent, considering
that's very recent. That's the blink of an eye ago. Yes.
Right? How far back we've been using crystals and tarot. This is so new.
And the chakras goes back, thousands, countless thousands of years. And, Okay. Well, let me ask you this. I'm sure that some of our viewers are curious, and would you mind answering a couple of questions?
I would love to answer questions.
Okay, good. So my darling producer, Tony, and we've got Bill in the studio. If anybody's and I've got Linny monitoring chat. So if there's any question out there, Timothy Mullins, what is the difference between crystals and semi-precious stones? That's a very good question.
That's a great question. So I'm not going to let you technically quote me on what I say here. However, I want you to take this specific information. Precious stones are that. They are a lot of the times showing certain colors, and of course, very rare and precious. They are made in the earth sometimes, but crystals, we know, have a certain vibration, color, feel, and those come from the earth. Sometimes our crystals are very rough and they are not tumbled and they look kind of like just a rock. But when we tumble them, they become crystals, and then we can identify them by their structure. So a crystal is structured in a different way. Some are volcanic in nature. Some of them, they're crystal only. Some of them have very scientifically noticeable traits that can be traced down to Mother Earth. Whereas I think semi-precious stones, they have a completely different background, and sometimes they can be man-made. So crystals, a lot of the times, can be confusing too. They can be cast in resin. While they hold the idea and intention of a true crystal, the resin does not give it the crystal properties that come when it's manufactured from Gaia, Mother Earth. So I hope it helps a little of my answer of this question. But yes, crystals, much different than semi-precious stones, but in specific ways. Oh, I see the next question.
Okay.
Okay, so what does an esoteric advisor do? I love that question. I love it. Do you know the answer, Andrea?
Do I know the answer? Yes. As well, for me, the answer would be, somebody that, brings you to, helps you along with your spiritual ascension. The illumination, the awakening, if you prefer. I mean, we have a lot of different words that we use in the new vernacular of the new age, but just somebody that helps you, gives you guideposts to follow. We're each on our own individual path, but someone that can, plunge a sign into, the side of the path and say, oh, you might want to explore down here a little bit. You could always come back to the regular path if you want, but you might want to look down there a little bit. It's just someone who's kind of already walked perhaps that part of the path and knows where all the most fascinating stuff is, and then points it out for others, so a bit of a metaphor, but to me, that's what it means.
And I love your definition of it. Mine's not far from that. Thank you for sharing that. I really love that. I meant to ask you about that as well. So I'm so happy that that question spurred the ability to be able to get your answer. My answer as far as esoteric vision is that as I see myself as a translator and someone who can act somewhat as a conduit to the divine or our God source that is available to us all, I'm able to kind of see from an observatory kind of perspective that allows me to see from an unbiased standpoint that, hey, this path is illuminated for you. How about this? Or how about this? How about this? And a lot of the times I feel like it's being very, very well versed in the stuff that you specialize in, which would mean that's where the vision comes from. Having the experience, like Andrea has said, to be able to navigate those and, of course, indiscriminately show other people those things. And it helps you on your spiritual path. So not an advisor, but an esoteric advisor would definitely kind of fall into like a spiritual advisor of sorts. So I think that's an amazing question. Thank you for posing that question.
Yes, it was. Mary Beth wants to know what crystals might help with opening up communication with my nonverbal grandsons.
Oh my, I immediately, right to the tip of my tongue, fluorite. Fluorite is so beautiful, and it's one of those things that allows for creativity. It's got nice purple and teal and white to it, and it just allows for the brain to play and have a creative sense. Also, too, because they are nonverbal, we talk about the throat chakra and where we want to speak and say things. That color of the throat chakra resonates to a very beautiful, like turquoise color. So when in doubt, think turquoise. Find a crystal that resonates at the color of like a light blue, like a turquoise, and that crystal will help. We talk about colors. We talk about resonance. A lot of the times there's no wrong answer to the medicine that you're looking for, especially in nature when it comes to crystals. So when it comes to your question in specific, right to the tip of my tongue came fluorite. It comes in a couple of different colors, and I think it will be incredibly helpful. If you can't remember the fluorite, or hey, maybe there's some other ones I looked up and I can't remember, think about the throat chakra, that energy center. will resonate at a light blue color that's very close to turquoise. And I would say even a turquoise would work very, very well because that integrates wisdom as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes. Actually, you're wearing
Jonathan.
a beautiful color. That's the color.
Yes, this I was just thinking that. I'm like, okay, this color.
Like her,
Mary
that
Beth.
color.
See this color? Yeah,
Yes.
this color.
Yes.
Jonathan, my dear friend, who I adore up in Rhode Island, asks what crystal or crystals should I use under my pillow?
Oh my. Depending on what I'd like to do once I've rested or, gone to sleep and I'm trying to accomplish something, I would definitely set my intention first before choosing a crystal. That being said, I would choose a black crystal. And the black crystal I like to choose is obsidian, even tourmaline.
I love obsidian. Yep.
Obsidian's absolutely beautiful. It helps kind of like absorb negative energies and it definitely deflects them. Tourmaline does the same, but they have different feels and structures to them. So you may resonate with one more than the other. But for your question, I would go with obsidian. Obsidian is something that will allow protection for you in a dream state or when you're sleeping. So it doesn't have to be anything in particular for anything in particular. Besides the fact that you are going to sleep, you are allowing your mind and your eyes to take a rest and for your soul and astral body to play along the cosmos until you wake up. And so for that, we will take some obsidian into our pillow with us and be safe, sound, and of course protected.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Lori wants to know what is a good crystal you should carry with you if you feel depressed.
Oh, rose quartz. It's rose quartz. It's rose quartz. Rose quartz is one of those that, of course,
I would agree.
It's from the quartz family, and it's one that's a very, very light pink so that it can resonate with all the things that, of course, your heart resonates to, but also to the idea that things need to be gentle. Things take time. Things are things until they're not or they are anymore. Rose quartz is a reminder not only of self-love, but love in general. And that real love does not rush. Real love does not boast. Real love does not do those things. And when you're depressed, sometimes we forget. We need deep rest. And in that state of needing deep rest, we need a lot of self-love. And sometimes we just need a nap. Sometimes we need different things. And rose quartz is very, very good at clicking my brain into the stuff that I can nurture myself with, or that you can nurture yourself with if you ever feel like you're in the state of deep rest.
Could Andrea address her important visitor yesterday for her screenplay project?
Could she? Can she? I'm very intrigued.
Let's just say that Thanksgiving was not just a festive occasion among family and friends, but that the man that I have chosen as the director for this project was at the house. And not only did I spend the day with him and the night with him yesterday, but then I got up and went back over and spent 3 hours with him this morning because it was a lot less crowded and there was coffee and donuts and we were just more free to really talk about how we envision this, where we want to go, what we want to do with this project. And gave it a shot of jet fuel in terms of scheduling, forward momentum. It takes on average 7 to 10 years to pull a project of this size together. Now with COVID, having pulled its high level of interference, I didn't let it get too much in the way. We just did an awful lot of work behind the scenes, no pun intended, in terms of structure, in terms of content, in terms of duration, in terms of vision for what this needs to be. And all of that came together yesterday and today. So that's about, I know it's vague, it's obscure, it's not a, a direct, answer to the question. It's as much as I feel comfortable revealing right now. But I will, keep everybody posted, because there's a lot more people than me who is very anxious to see this project come to fruition in a unique way. And that's what we're working on. And it's, I think we made great progress yesterday. When you start putting down on paper what this looks like, not just storyboarding, but what does it look like? I have a part of my house that's just got thoughts, ideas, like all lined up on pieces of paper on Post-it notes along the wall of my office, which you can't see, thankfully, because, oh my God, it's pretty colors. I got multicolored pads of Post-it notes, but it's a little overwhelming.
They say great minds think alike.
Yeah, there you go. I know it. It's like, what color do I want for this thought? Boom, there it is. I feel like this is going to actually happen regardless of any impediment, any boundary, any obstruction, any, just life is nothing but a series of obstacles to overcome. You just have to find the route over, under, or around each and every one of them as they present themselves. And so we did some problem solving. We did some planning. One of my favorite invented words, strategery. We did strategery. That goes back. You might not even be old enough to even remember the origins of that word. Although there is a Texas connection. I'm very pleased, and I'm relieved that in-person meeting happened after more than 3 years of us not being able to see each other, to actually sit together and hug each other and share a meal and laugh and have some semblance of normalcy to our relationship again, instead of Zoom or the phone or, 2 tin cans and a string from one side of the coast to the other. Yes. It was really good to meet with him. And when I can announce his name, I will.
I love the update. I live for the question, and I'm so glad that happened. 3 years is an eternity. It's a long time, especially for a creative mind and someone who's as busy as yourself. So congratulations. That's quite a big milestone that you have moved into your reality, and you're going to continue pushing it forward. And of course, your intention to make it what you will is one that is very great that you stated, and is definitely well on its way.
Yeah, it is. Finally. Oh, been a lot of work. But does anybody else have any other questions for Elsa? Anyone? We'll give them a chance to think.
I know, so much information.
I know. Well, it can be overwhelming.
Right.
It can be. I would like to put you together with Erin and let the two of you have. She's an energy healer. She works with stones and crystals and in a variety of ways, the same way that you do, and yet you're two entirely different people with maybe entirely different perspectives, but arriving at the same conclusion. I think that it would be great to connect you, and you would have some truly enlightening conversations. There's no question in my mind about that. She's a beautiful soul, just like you are.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Oh, I live for it already. Tell her I
well,
love her and I
I
can't wait.
will. Well, you're allowed to pre-love her before you've
Oh,
even met her.
it's
You can
done.
pre-love her.
It's done.
Yeah,
It's
okay, good. That's
basically loving.
very good. Uh, uh, Jonathan, Elsa, my birthstone is citrine. What can I use it for?
Oh my. Citrine is good for concentrating intuitional knowledge or just your brain onto a task. Citrine is so wonderful for getting your finances in order. And it's kind of another one of those that breaks off the quartz. It is so, so good for concentrating intuitiveness and concentration of your intellectual matters up here, right into what you need to. Citrine is one of my favorites. It's one that's sitting right up here, right back here. It's all over. And I go to it when I need to concentrate, look at business and finances.
Excellent. When you think of, we put a lot of stock in our birthstones. We're told at an early age, somebody will give us a little necklace with our birthstone or a little ring, or my birthstone is opal. And I think it is
how
the
pretty.
most beautiful. No two of them are alike. I know that's true of all stones, but still, there are some, I swear, they speak to me in light language. In light language. They're just the most beautiful stone. And I swear that I have a cosmic connection between my birthstone and I don't know how to explain it. I can't even really find the words for it. It brings me joy to hold an opal. That's probably the simplest way to state it. It brings me joy to look at them, to hold them to the light, to let them speak to me the way that they
Opal
do.
is so cosmic looking. I call it vitamin O. It's wonderful. You have fire opal, all different kinds. And I think there really truly is a resonance and magic to the birthstone that you're assigned, just like there's magic in the astrology that you're assigned. So whether you believe in birthstones and stone and crystal healing, or you believe in astrology or not, you've been assigned those things. And it's not by accident. It's not by coincidence. It's actually something that should resonate with you, and a lot of the times will. So it's really, really great to hear that you're like, oh, I love the opal, and it really resonates with me because it is quite powerful. It's multifaceted, and it's one that helps connect you to the astral realm. So I'm not surprised. And that's the thing with the citrine and it being a birthstone. I'm like, what can I use it for? That's already intellectual thinking right there. Like, oh, there's a crystal available to me. What can I do with it? That's citrine at work if I ain't seen it before. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And those are those things that we don't learn. We're like, oh yeah, this and this is this, until one day we wake up and you're like, this and this was not that. This and this is not that. It was this and it was healing me. And oh my gosh, and this was always placed here and this was always there and the grass was always green. Things start to make sense after some time. But I do think that whether time has passed or not, when a soul enters this planet, they are assigned a zodiac sign in the birthstone, and they are a lot of the times for reasons unknown until illuminated otherwise.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to realize that my being a Libra, being the sign of marriage and also the sign of justice, all those two things are so interconnected. But I've always been fascinated by the law. I've always been, not only like the laws of the land, the law of gravity, the law of attraction, the law of, the immutable laws of the universe, how things work.
Isn't that so wonderful?
It is. It's wonderful.
It's like a code of this has to work like this, even if you don't get it. This works like this, and watch the magic. Yeah. And I think that's so amazing.
Yeah, and it doesn't care if you don't get it.
Not at all.
Because that's just the way it works. Like my mother said, the existence of the spirits is not contingent upon your belief in them.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yep. They don't care whether you believe in them or not. It has no bearing on their existence, their forward momentum in afterlife, or whatever word you choose to describe where they are. And how they function and what realm it is, and all of that. There's nobody that has the end all be all answer to any of these questions. It's but it's also just pondering it is jet fuel that fires up our cognitive abilities, our imagination, our creativity, our sense of wonder, our need to explore. All of that taps into what I consider to be the very best and most powerful attributes of being a human being, including our desire to know more, our desire to be informed, our desire to experience things we have yet to experience, and what's next and what's new. And so I think that those are all intrinsic qualities to being human, and these things unleash them. Activate them.
That's one of my favorite words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about sacred geometry, something the Egyptians knew a lot about. You have a pyramid-shaped stone that was found in a crop circle. All those things are geometric in pattern. And thus, our languages of the universe, if we look at sacred geometry, we looked at the word activations. So being activated, being spiritually activated is something that allows for the transmittal of something like light language. I'm so glad you brought that up, because light language is something that's going around a lot of the interwebs, a lot of the socials, the TikTok, the things around, in which people seem to be speaking a different language, in which they are, but it's resonating with the earth. And of course, things that we can see but hear with our eyes. When we observe something like the opal, like you said, and it gives you like a light language, or it speaks to you, that's just the coolest way that I can think to be communicated with, through seeing something, and then something so special for you coming out, even of all the chaos of not understanding or realizing, until it's right there, blinding you in the face with its beautiful refractions. We have stones like labradite that they're built in with a flash to them. How beautiful of nature to do that for us. Know that we like shiny things. Put them into a naturally occurring something and be like, oh, cool. Even something like lapis lazuli, something that the Egyptians loved too. It was speckled with something that they highly valued. It's speckled with gold. Gold. And how beautiful, So when it comes down to the different shapes and light language and all that, I do believe that, the pyramid is one that allows for a lot of light language to hit the top of it and go down into all the energy centers and kind of act as a sphere and have all the vibrations emanating through the center. But we are like a pyramid as a species, and that's what the World Awakening is all about. And it's such an exciting time to be here, to understand that not only our astrology, our birthstones, but every single aspect and thing around us is alive to kind of push forward our song, our legacy, our way of being, our soul's progression into whatever lifetime that we perceive it to go. But I do like the idea that you brought up the age of Aquarius, because we know we're going there next. And I think that's wonderful.
We've just got our first little toe in the door.
A toe. We got a toe in there. There's a toe in there. There's going to be a whole foot in there. We'll have a foot in the door soon.
Yeah, we will. We will. I believe that it was 2011 when I felt the shift. And it was a profound one. for me. And it's interesting because March 11th of 2011 was the day that my first book was published. And as it walked in the door in the hands of a drop dead gorgeous UPS driver, because of course UPS only hires the most attractive people.
Yes.
You know, and it was my preview copy. It was going live that day worldwide. But it was my preview copy from my publisher that arrived. And as it did, my mother and I were home, and it said breaking news on CNN. Back when breaking news meant something, you know, now it's breaking news every 5 minutes. But back then, if you heard breaking news, that was like the emergency alarm system, like something's really happening here. Pay attention, you know? And so as I'm thanking him and I'm taking the book in and I'm holding it up to me like, oh, Mom, oh my God, all this work, and here it is. And then breaking news, tsunami in Japan. And they start showing the water racing onto the shoreline, the Japanese villages being decimated, and thousands of people drowning, and, you know, major earthquake and tsunami in Japan. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. You know, I mean, I had a split-second moment of being a base human being and angry at the universe for robbing me of my moment of joy and smacking me upside the head with the reality of living on this planet. And why did this happen now, this minute? Why did that coinciding occur? Since then, there have been several other things that have happened. On March 11th, I, you know, immediately got over myself, of course, because who am I? And, you know, I've got this book, and my mother, not understanding, you know, she had seen there was an earthquake, and she's like, oh, Annie, you know, our story's already shaking up the world. She didn't mean to make light of it. She didn't realize how very serious. Japan has earthquakes all the time. You know, she didn't realize just how bad this was until a few moments later. And then both of us sat down, and I never even opened the box. I just sat with her, and we watched this natural disaster unfold. Yeah. And while we were watching it, she looked at me and she said, do you feel the way that I feel? And I said, well, I don't know, Mom. I feel it feels surreal to me. Like what we're watching here can't actually be happening, and we're seeing it in real time from the other side of the world. What are you feeling? And she said she felt an immeasurable grief for the people that had no forewarning and could not get out of the way. Right. Immeasurable grief for all of the animals' lives that were lost. We didn't even know yet the damage that was being done to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. We didn't even know about that yet. Right. But she said that she looked at me and she said, this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. The water bearer has arrived. And I was like, boom, there it is. My mother just nailed it. Here it is. This is it. The door just cracked open. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. And here it is. And it did feel like a shift in, like, literally the sand shifting beneath your feet while you're standing on the beach. That's how it felt to me.
Right. And a lot of large astrological cycles will kind of complete and have weather that comes with them because the planets are shifting, the moon shifting, everything is shifting. And it's crazy because beauty still came out of the chaos. Recovery, healing, coherence of what's gone on, integration of these ideas outside of course, the recovery and healing that was so very necessary as a result of that, again, not controllable, kind of persistent natural disaster for that region. It was something different about the way they recovered this time. It was something different about the awakeness that they had. And I think that that says something as we move on into the age of Aquarius and have a lot of other planetary conjuncts and things happening around us. We're seeing our environment change around us every day. You mentioned, resources and how we're looking at different resources and them dwindle and looking for other alternatives and how it's crucial to our planet and species survival. And all that is culminated around the idea that we can keep surviving natural disasters and have ways to pick up and heal. And I think that's what's very, very important to take away. Beauty being essentially activated in chaos, because it did start a grand world awakening, if there wasn't any before, or if there was one on the horizon. I think that large natural disaster, along with a couple others since then, have really, really been pivotal to the awakening of the idea, hey, it's not just this, there's something else going on. And, I feel a little less standoffish about these people. Why don't we come together? Why don't we come together? Why don't we do this together? Why don't we pool resources? Why don't we have treaties? Why don't we do things differently? A lot of the times it'll take things that are out of our control to want us to gain control in a way that can benefit a lot of people at once. And I think that's why universal consciousness and spiritual awakening is so very important. Whether it means that you're going down, one path or the other, it's incredibly important to realize that we are all capable of saving the planet, saving the universe. We are not capable of stopping things that are not within our control. And a lot of the times realizing that we're the creators of our universe and in control and not control at the same time is incredibly huge. It's profound. And it's something that makes us feel anxiety at times. Like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How can I help? Sometimes it makes us feel small. Like, oh my gosh, I am like a grain of sand and I will get blown off the beach. All those things are a part of our experience. And I think they're a part of who we integrate to be every single day, and that ripple effect that happens of it just existing and thinking in a way that we're grateful that we're not in a cycle of this or a cycle of that, or even being in the midst of a tsunami or something of that nature, because you say it's something that happens to that region all the time. There's still beauty that comes out of that, again, in the healing and the rebuilding process. So a lot of what I see and what I do in the esoteric advising field is seeing tsunamis hit people, hit their soul, hit their whole lives, down to the regions that they're in, and then continuously awakening the next day to see that there's healing, there's help, there's soul resonance, there's a better earth being built. When, like you said, our reality has very much remained the same, but is ever changing around us. So it's just, it's so profound in the empowerment that comes from remembering our past, and that things are beyond our control and all these things are flying at us. But I think that's what makes the song even more worthy to dance to.
Yeah.
The song of the human being is one that is just like, oh, and they did this and they did that, and it's going to travel throughout time in ways that resilience is measured, and that's by perseverance,
Yeah. Well, I think that that particular event was especially significant because it was an intersection occurred. It was not just a natural disaster. It was also a man-made disaster. I mean, it was really a jumpstart for the modern environmental movement worldwide. The first logical question: why on earth did you build a nuclear power plant at the shoreline of a country that is so susceptible, right in the ring of fire, so susceptible to this kind of disaster, whether it be earthquakes, tsunamis resulting from the earthquakes out in the ocean? Who thought this up? Who thought this was a good idea? And this was exacerbated. It was bad enough all by itself. But this situation remains at point critical. They have millions of gallons of cesium and contaminated water that need to be disposed of. And the answer to that is to dump it into the Pacific Ocean, which is, even though they have all pretty different names, they're, all the oceans of the world are connected.
They are.
They're slowly but surely raising the level of what can be considered permissible in terms of radioactive exposure to human beings. And that keeps ticking up and ticking up and ticking up. And so, unfortunately, there's an element of the world scientific community that is adjusting their numbers to suit the circumstance, rather than saying this circumstance is unacceptable and this radiation level is unacceptable, and you're not going to just poison our Pacific Ocean, you're going to poison our world ocean to dispose of something which is a disaster of your own making and your own creation. And humanity at large, the sentient, prescient thinking part of humanity has had to grapple with this worry, this situation, and we don't have a lot of options. Really, we don't have a lot of options in terms of disposal of this highly contaminated liquid that has to go somewhere. And so, back in the 1970s, the waste water from it was the nuclear power plant in New Hampshire. Well, they put it on boats, and National Geographic did a whole thing about this. They put it on ships, and they took it 10, 20 miles out to sea and dumped it in the Atlantic Ocean. And then, so that it would not just slowly rust and disperse basically all at once, as they were dumping these barrels of nuclear waste into the Atlantic Ocean, a spit away from the shoreline, decided that it was a good idea to shoot holes in the barrels as they were going down, so that the radioactive wastewater would drip into the ocean a little at a time instead of all at once. And that was the scientific community's solution for how to deal with the water that came from a nuclear reactor on the East Coast. And so I ask of the class in Soul School, what have we learned? What have we learned exactly? And where do we go from here? And what do runes or tarot cards or, any other tool or device that we use, including our own innate intelligence, to discern what is the proper path forward to preserve all life, not just our life, but all life on this fragile, delicate flower of a planet that we are slowly poisoning. Where do we make that shift? Where do we make that turn? And these are not rhetorical questions. I want to know what you think about where the hell do we go from here to make the change that we must, so that we do not set in stone our eventual demise.
So, yes, those are great questions. And I'm so glad they're not rhetorical, because I was like, hopefully I'll get to answer some of these. There are questions, there are solutions to these questions. And a lot of these questions circle around the idea that there's got to be something in place, or some sort of, fireball that we can pull that says, this is enough. This is enough. We're coming together, and we say no. I think the cards, the runes, the medium of spreading the information that all human life is worth something is the biggest key here. When we start realizing that we are all in this together, surviving on one planet, then as a collective consciousness, can we use these tools that are available now to kind of help us build? But in the meantime, we need ways to do what we can in our way of feeling like a small grain of sand to a large pile of sand to what these issues are. And it starts by understanding your place as a valuable human being on this planet, in this universe, and having that soul resonance take over and have a place not only in your mind, but in your existence. As a soul, you have a responsibility to reach enlightenment, to reach kind of like a crystalline and God source. And you learn that when you're going through esoteric advising, you're going through advancing your soul, advancing your human self to be the best that you can. In doing that, it's not just doing what's best for you. It's having a kind of pano view of all the things that are going on around you. Those ripples that affect you are something that are within your realm of being able to do something. And being able to do something is reminding those around you by your actions, your resonance, your vibration that, hey, picking up trash and putting it where it needs to go, that's what we do to keep the planet this way or that way. Not because you don't feel like it, not because I feel like breathing. I feel like standing on this earth without the tectonic plate shifting. So we need to make a plan to get rid of the emotion and sometimes the feelings that we cannot help, and change that into an understanding that we have keepers of light. We have multi-sentient beings in a multi-dimensional dimensional universe that are here to help us. And if we're able to use our connection to this planet while it still exists and there's some resources here, and we're able to band together, we will be very, very much connected in a way that we aren't in when I hear about this stuff. It sounds like a huge disconnect from spirit, a huge disconnect for anything besides today, right now, and the idea of greed, the idea of not caring about anyone besides yourself. It's a way of things gone too far left or too far right. And there's so many of us on this planet. There's so many of us. It's like grains of sand on a beach. But that being said, as a universal consciousness and a species who is capable of connecting not only to the divine, but to the angels, the creators, extraterrestrial beings, things that are beyond our knowledge range right now, I think in doing that and taking that responsibility and seeing that as something you can do is something that can empower you and the people around you, sometimes your soul family, to accomplish more than you ever thought you could. It's
Yeah.
a universal consciousness that's not present when it comes to lawmaking, and when it comes to the people who make these decisions and discernments, that it's good for who, when, why, where. When you ask the questions of like, who decided that or who determined that, I couldn't off the top of my head think who was permitted to be able to have such a destructive way of being constructive, and we're trying to do this and create this or the other. It made no logical sense. But what came to my mind was a monetary sense, was a I know better than you sense. And that means that maybe those people didn't see themselves as equal to everyone around them. We're all equal, and we're all one species on one planet. And it doesn't mean that it should suit one person over the other. And when it comes to man-made things that have a ripple effect like that, I understand science and progressing that. But when human lives are at stake and human lives are lost because of, there's a huge issue. And I would even venture to say a disconnect between the species and the divine. And so until that connection is repaired and enough people on this world are awoken, we may not see things like that change like we have in other nations, in which they've banded together and decided not to do this or the other. I feel like a lot of the things in the United States are a little bit slower. And sometimes when it comes to other countries, they're not in the same idea range as we are. Sometimes it's, oh, well, you're Eastern, I'm Western, it does. There's a lot of divisive things that come between us. And the divisive things that come between us can really be remedied by using something that's indiscriminately vibrational and frequency related. And sometimes that can be collective consciousness to create something better.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't believe we went through 2 hours, and in the last 5 minutes of the show is when we addressed the existence of our galactic family, which means, of course, now that we have 1 minute left, I have to invite you back to have that conversation, my darling.
I would love to.
Wonderful. And I know everybody watching tonight was just as utterly charmed by you as I am. You are a blessed and beautiful soul upon the earth, Elsa. And I thank you with all my heart for joining me tonight on A World Awakening. And I do think that this has been a particularly enlightening episode of the Afro-Named show. You are a blessing to the world. So with that, I want to thank you and thank everyone watching A World Awakening tonight. Be kind, be loving, be the light you seek. Good night, everyone.